All right, everyone, today is the South Carolina primary. Of course, all eyes on whether Joe Biden can scrape together a win there. If he doesn't win by a comfy margin, if he pulls off a squeaker like Bernie Sanders winning New Hampshire by 2 points, Buttigieg winning Iowa by a half a point, if something like that happens, it's really not a victory at all and he should drop out. Because it's clear if he doesn't win by a comfortable margin and redeem himself after the disastrous Iowa and New Hampshire races, which are really the two big ones. Biden flubbed them both. He came back in Nevada to an extent, came in second, although distant. On Super Tuesday, though, if we look at polling from literally every state on Super Tuesday, Bernie Sanders is in the lead. Now, there are caveats to this. Let me explain. The first caveat is that in some of the states, he's only ahead by a small amount. He's ahead comfortably in Vermont, I wonder why, or California. In some of the states, not so much. That's number one. Number two, in some of these states, in fact, more than half of them, we have very, very bad polling. You don't have that many polls from a lot of these states because the pollsters can only fund so many polls in so many states. A lot of them would rather fixate on the pre-Super Tuesday states, or they just do like one or two of the Super Tuesday states. Or they release one poll in the whole fucking month. Super Tuesday is mere days away, less than a week to go, and something like a third of all the delegates will be accounted for, at least the normal delegates, superdelegates aside. Bernie Sanders is slated to potentially sweep the field on Super Tuesday, even if Joe Biden wins South Carolina. If that happens, by the way, he is the nominee. Here's the problem. The superdelegates, when asked, a lot of them won't back Bernie Sanders. If there is a contested convention, he could be denied the nomination. At that point, the Democrats have two equally shitty choices if Bernie Sanders goes in with a lead but without a clear mandate. They can shaft him, which means that they're essentially saying, no, fuck the voters, though that'll lose them the election real quick and cause a schism. They cannot shaft him, in which case they alienate the business Dems, and every Dem strategist worth their salt knows Bernie Sanders has taken the Democratic Party's umbrella. He's claiming to expand it, but really what he's done is yank it far left. That is, he chose to encompass the far left. That some of these people vote Green Party because they don't even like the Democrats. Most of them aren't Democrats. He decided that he wanted them to be part of his coalition for voting purposes, alienating the center left, alienating the moderates, the independent voters, alienating potential apolitical third-party goers, and putting them squarely in the Trump camp. Trump will crush Bernie Sanders if Bernie Sanders is nominated. The excitement that you see among his core fan base is not felt by the average Democrat. It's just not. And it's certainly not felt by the average independent voter. All of this bravado that I see from his fans, oh, America wants free shit, essentially. We want Medicaid for all. We want free everything. I've got student loans, take care of them, Uncle Sam. All of that bullshit, when confronted on a national stage by someone who is competent, which the rest of the Dem field clearly isn't. If somebody competent, like Trump, who's already been managing the economy and doing well, confronts him on his math, Bernie Sanders will fall. He is running on an economy campaign in a good economy. He's fucking nuts for doing this. He should be running on wedge issues. Ironically enough, he should talk more about being Jewish. It would probably be, oddly enough, it would be a better general election strategy. Oh, well, we'll have the first Jewish president. That would be arguably a better strategy than saying, I want to tear up everything Trump's doing economically and reformulate fucking everything. Capitalism evil. And it's very funny. Again, these people don't seem to understand. If you're one of that minority of Democrats excited about Bernie, you're not understanding. You are fundamentally saying the following to me. That a near 80-year-old man with heart problems who praises Fidel Castro is a person that you trust to lead this party. Now, some of these people aren't Democrats, so they don't really care about the Dems winning or something. I don't care either. I'm not a Democrat. But it would be nice if the party would come to its senses and be worth potentially voting for. I'm not going to vote for Sanders. I'm a Vermonter. I'm from his fucking home state. I'm one of his goddamn constituents. I pay my tax money to the Vermont state government. I'm one of his constituents. I wouldn't vote for him in 1,000 years, dude. Never gonna fucking happen. Never gonna happen. I watched him debate Rich Tarrant live. It was quite a thing. Martha Rainville was there debating Peter Welch as well. I remember that. I did a write-up, won second prize in senior law in high school. It's a very fun time. No, I mean, Bernie Sanders would get curb stomped, honestly. But that doesn't mean he can't run the field on Super Tuesday. And he probably will even if Joe Biden wins South Carolina because he's ahead so much. Here's the thing, though. If Biden can regain that lost ground and steal some of Bernie's thunder away before Super Tuesday, that could work. He could pick off a state here and there. He'd still be viable. It would probably lead to a fight of attrition in which he probably would perform better after Super Tuesday. Biden would probably get a decent boost. He would be seen as the only anti-Bernie candidate. And what would happen? Here's what the Democrats would have to do to stop Bernie if he does well on Super Tuesday, and by all indicators he will. Other Dems have to drop out and endorse Biden. I know that they'll have to hold their nose to do that, but that's really the only choice they'll have. The only other option would be to allow Bloomberg to blow up the whole race. Allow Bloomberg to just fucking pound him with $1 billion worth of ads. Well, that would be crazy, because what you would end up doing is you'd have that 30-40% of the party that does really like Bernie really fucking mad. And then you'd end up having to steal the nomination from him with superdelegates or something. The superdelegate system is designed as a quasi-bicameral ripoff sort of system to ensure that you can't get a candidate exactly like Bernie Sanders. I hate to tell the Bernie fans one important thing. The DNC is not a direct democracy. Your votes certainly matter, but the reason why there are still caucus states is for that same reason. It's not a democracy. We don't live in a democracy. It's a bicameral sort of system. The concept of superdelegates is as a stopgap against somebody who arrives and simply out-far lefts everyone else and promises people free shit in order to vote for them. Well, I want to give free shit to the 51%. Well, you get 51% of the votes. The superdelegates are specifically meant to stop that sort of bullshit. Because while that will work to get you the nomination, it won't work in a general election. It simply won't. Because the minority of the minority of voters is not going to be able to carry you to an election. What you're saying essentially is you would want Bernie to say, I'm a Democrat and I'm really, really far left. So you get Democrat partisans. That's like 30% of the country, 35%. Same on the GOP side. It's about even. So there's a third of the country plus the really far left, which is minuscule. You add up to maybe 40, maybe 45 if you're lucky. Trump will take everything else and he will crush him. He will steamroll him. The average voter is intelligent enough. I know that a lot of people don't understand this. The average voter is intelligent enough to understand that there is no free shit. And when it is told on a national debate stage by Trump, which would certainly happen, hey, it's not free college. It's taxpayer funded, and here's the real numbers. Watch how people switch against it. Watch how people turn their backs on Bernie. That's assuming, of course, that he survives campaigning. He's almost 80 years old. He had a heart attack a few months ago. A significant one, not just a little bit of chest pain like we were told at first. If Trump had a heart attack right now, they'd be demanding that he stand down. Get rid of Trump. He's a danger to the republic, including most of the Bernie fans. Well, we can't have a sick old man in that position as the commander-in-chief. We might get President Pence. Yeah, I guess that definitely running mate choosing would be definitely quite something if Bernie Sanders becomes the nominee. And he probably will. Well, you got to understand that there's a pretty good chance that he'll actually do it. The Dem nominee may be an 80-year-old heart attack-addled socialist. That's going to be funny. I hope the superdelegates stop him. Here's the problem. The Democrats, if they stop Bernie, they save face long term. They can reform their party and hopefully prevent similar problems in the future. But they have to lose 2020 in order to do that. And that's going to goddamn sting because they've set everyone up to think that Trump is Hitler. Or they can decide to just let Bernie take it, let Bernie run it into the ground and just blame the far left, which means they permanently alienate them for at least a couple generations and lose all of Gen Z. Trump will win the youth vote probably if they do that. Future Republicans will be rubbing their greedy hands together and chuckling to themselves like Michael Bloomberg foreclosing on a family on Christmas Eve. It's going to be great. I don't see the Democrats having really a path forward to victory anyway. It doesn't really matter who wins. But on Super Tuesday, what I expect, if Biden does well, if he overperforms, let's say he comes in above polling in South Carolina, the headline news will be Biden makes a comeback, the comeback kid, here's our anti-Bernie. They'll encourage everyone else to drop out and endorse him. Probably at least one candidate will before Super Tuesday too. They'll stand on principle. You watch, look for who it'll be. It's impossible to tell. Somebody, I think, will drop between South Carolina, if Biden does really well. That's the caveat. He does really well. They drop and endorse him. because they see he's on an upswing. They speculate, okay, the only way he's going to get over that margin is if I also give him my thunder. So we're going to rip Bernie Sanders a new asshole on Super Tuesday, and Biden will be able to win by attrition. The superdelegates will end up backing him if it's close. That's what'll happen. It could be Klobuchar. It could be Steyer, although Steyer was trying to buddy-buddy with Bernie Sanders. Or it could be conversely, if Biden doesn't do well, he only wins by a point or something, somebody might drop out and endorse Bernie and put him permanently over that gap, and actually there might not be a contested convention at all because the field thins so much. He could win simply by having Elizabeth Warren endorse him, probably. We got to keep that in mind. So it's still malleable. We have to wait until after Super Tuesday to sort of know who's going to be the nominee. The chances are it'll be Bernie Sanders, with a slightly lesser chance of Biden making that comeback, managing to maneuver into a position where he wins by attrition, and then the very real possibility we show up at the convention without someone being effectively nominated. It will be the messiest since the 60s, when the Democratic convention was held and there were riots and hippies throwing rocks and burning cars and police beating people down with riot batons. It'll be like that. You've actually got some of Bernie's own staffers proclaiming that that's the intent if he's not nominated. Milwaukee will burn, say some of his staffers in private, according to Project Veritas releases, which are absolutely true and unedited. So there you go. It's funny because Bernie Sanders fans are so self-righteous and greedy for free shit that they're actually willing to commit acts of violence in order to get their free handouts. That's basically what it boils down to. Of course, I think the Democrats should reject that. Socialism has no place in the United States anyway, never has, never will. But if you choose to nominate a loser, which is what Bernie Sanders has always been, go ahead, take the consequences. See if I didn't tell you so. That's about all. Peace out.